I think we're going to call the January 6th, 2026 meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission to order. And first order of business, I guess I need to. Judy, you're handling letting people in.
Yes.
Thank you. I guess our first order of business will be a roll call. Eleanor?
Present.
Jennifer?
Present.
And I am here. So we have all three members of the Conservation Commission present. The next orders of business would be our approval of minutes. We have multiple minutes going back to December 9th, December 16th, and December 23rd. I believe the 9th and the 16th were edited. Eleanor, you had some edits to both of those and incorporated those, I believe.
Yeah, I had minor edits to the 9th and the 23rd.
Did you?
And
do we have the 23rd in final form then?
I think so, but then you sort of made a grammatical correction.
Strictly the grammatical, and Judy did send that out, so I think we're okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I did not have a chance to comment on the 16th. I wanted to make some changes because I noticed some typos or, things that I needed to recheck.
Okay. So we can approve the 9th and 23rd, but you'd like to change some things on the 16th, and those won't be done tonight.
Yeah, I think I need a little time on those.
All right. I guess we need a motion to approve the minutes of the 9th and the 6th and the 23rd then. December 9th, December 23rd.
I'll make a motion to approve the 9th and 23rd as edited by me and subsequently edited by Paul for the 23rd.
Okay.
I'll second.
Jennifer, your second. Thanks. All in favor? Eleanor?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And I vote in favor, so those minutes are approved. The next matter is PAC Self-Storage, DEP 313652. They have asked to be continued to February 17th, 2026, which will be our next meeting, actually, since I'm going to be away for a month. Between now and then. So then we move to DEP 313656. QP 595 LLC, which is 595 North Avenue, notice of intent. We are reopening the public hearing for the construction of a deck within bordering land subject to flooding and within 100 feet of a wetland resource area, namely Lake Quannapowitt. The proponent is here, I believe.
We are.
You representing the proponent?
I am.
Okay. Anything you want to say to
Sure.
this one?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGill representing the applicant, which is the owner of the property, QP 595 LLC. There's been some questions on why they would be the applicant. Obviously, the applicant is the owner of the property, not a tenant on the property. They own the real estate. So they are the appropriate applicant on this application. With me tonight is Rick Salvo from Engineering Alliance. I wanted to bring Rick to the meeting tonight. He's our site civil engineer to be able to answer any questions that the commission might have of him with the reopened public hearing. My recollection is that the commission asked for more time from us to be able to reopen the public hearing to gather some more information, which we agreed to and had no issue with on December 23rd.
Right.
Because I think we all want to make sure that we get this right. And so we acquiesced to that, assented to it. And I think the main purpose of that was to get some more information on the construction methods that would take place and how they would take place to make sure that impacts were eliminated and or conditioned. Conditions were implemented in your order to address any concerns the commission might have in that regard. And then I also believe that you wanted to get some clarification from the town engineer if DEP stormwater standards needed to be met from this. As you know from our application, our position is because it's so small, Mr. Salvo checked the box, the only box that could be applicable. There's not a specific box, but it's our position that DEP stormwater standards don't need to be met because of the size. But your commission was going to reach out to the town engineer for his opinion on that on behalf of the town.
And
So-
we did reach out to the town engineer on that, and the town engineer said the same thing, that this is too small a project with too small an impact to justify any kind of stormwater analysis.
Okay, so I'm happy to
I don't
provide some.
think we'll be, unless Eleanor or Jennifer have something further to raise with that, I believe we're going to accept the town engineer's confirmation on that issue and move ahead to any other matters and questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could at some point talk about just kind of the process when this happens, but I read Bill Renault's comments, and I mean, they make sense to me in terms of his assessment.
Okay,
I agree.
thanks. Yeah, I think in future it would be good if we can get confirmation on that in advance of the hearing, but given where we are, we'll move ahead as we are.
So I'm happy to provide some details on the construction methods, if that would be helpful to the
I
commission.
think that was the other
Yeah.
question. I think
Yeah.
we had some questions about how the sonotubes would be installed and material storage and a variety of other matters. So
Yeah, and that might trigger some conditions that you would want to implement with the information that I'm going to provide you, and that would certainly be
Okay.
your prerogative. So I had a meeting with the owner of the entity, Eugene Nigro, and his contractor.
Mhm.
And they confirmed to me that, as we had discussed at a prior meeting, that the borings for the footings will be done with a hand auger, so not a machine or a backhoe. So they'll really be done manually.
Okay.
It's a powered auger that one holds like a big drill. And so there will be no
Small gasoline engine on top.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
And there'll be no backhoe or heavy equipment behind the hotel for this project. The other question was, how are they going to get concrete back there? Are they going to have to take trucks or pump it? And their plan is to wheelbarrow it from the parking lot because this is such a small project. So there'll be no need for any trucks to drive back there or machines. And then there was also a question that the commission had on how they were going to access materials being brought in to construct the deck. And they informed me that those materials will be staged in the parking lot and hand carried behind the hotel. So really, there's going to be very limited activity behind the hotel in the sensitive area. No trucks, no machines, backhoes, no construction equipment per se.
That seems to address a lot of the concern we had in terms of impacts along in that area of the shoreline. At least to my mind. I'll let Jennifer and Eleanor speak to their thoughts on that, but all hand carried concrete and material certainly removes a concern about mechanical equipment damaging the lakefront.
Yeah,
I
mean,
agree.
I think that, yeah, provides the requested information about the construction plan and the dimensions of the deck.
I'm sorry, Jennifer, were you asking additional
No, I was
questions?
saying agreeing.
Oh, agreeing. Okay, thanks. Now, one question I think we did have was the sonotubes are going to a depth of 4 feet. Are they 12-inch diameter sonotubes? Rick, is that
12-inch
correct?
diameter sonotubes to a depth of 4 feet. That's correct.
All right. And then they'll be above above grade to hold the deck up the distance.
That's correct. And we assume that the sonotube itself would extend beyond the limit of the floodplain so that we took the full volume that would be impacted. If they happen to be a little bit shorter and there's only a 4x4 post, then that means our calculations would have been conservative.
Okay. But in general, the sonotubes you expect the sonotubes to be poured to a height that would be above the.
Yeah, they'll be at least 6 inches above the grade. In most cases, we were within 4 inches of the floodplain.
Okay. Okay.
Did I misunderstand? I thought the deck was going to be elevated 4 feet above the ground.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
But the concrete doesn't go all the way up to the bottom of the deck 4 feet. The concrete would only stick out of the ground about probably 6 inches.
Okay.
And then it would be a wooden post that would go down from there, the remainder of the
It'd be a
depth.
4x4 post that supports the deck from there. Is that
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
other questions for Rick or Brian? Okay. If we don't have any other questions from the commission, I'll open it to public questions. I see two at the moment. John Carrick, your hand was up first, so I'll call on you. John? John? I can't hear you. John, you'll have to try unmuting yourself again. Yeah. Hello? I think you may need to log out and log back in, John. And while we're waiting for you to do that, we're going to go on to Bronwyn Delavope. Hello, Bronwyn.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Good evening, Bronwyn Delavope, 8 Cyrus Street. There are several people on this evening, and I think it would be very beneficial for everyone to see plans so that we know where the deck is located, how large it is, also to know how many people it will hold, how far
Rick
from
Shovel has just shared his screen. Rick, I think you're going to need to enlarge that some because it's almost illegible at that size.
Okay, so what are the dimensions of the deck?
Well, 1 second here. So the deck extends off the back of the building towards the lake, 30 feet, and it is about 100 feet long.
It's 30 feet in the wider part of it, and then
Correct, 30 by 100.
30 by 100, but there's a narrow end to it that isn't.
Yeah, so then that narrow end is about, let's see, 7.5 by 35.
Okay.
Thank you for that. That is not a small project in my mind. It's 100 feet long, and at the wide point, it's 30 feet wide.
30 feet wide, that's correct.
Okay, and can you give me an approximation how many people that would hold a maximum?
I'm not really sure how many people it would hold maximum, to be honest with you.
Does anyone in present this evening have that information?
No, with all due respect, it's not relevant for the Conservation Commission. And also that will be an occupancy load issue that will be dealt with by the building department.
Okay. All right, so this is down towards the pool end. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and how far is and there are it says proposed stairs, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and why does it say proposed?
Because they're not there yet. They won't be there until the deck gets built.
Well, okay, so
Just
there,
like it's a proposed deck.
okay, all right, it's a proposed deck. All right, so you're going to have 3 stairways down onto the ground towards the lake, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, how far, if I can see your plans, but if you could help me out a little bit here because the numbers are kind of small, how far from the shoreline is the deck and how far from the beginnings of the riparian zone, the vegetated zone, is the deck?
So the deck from the edge of the lake at the far corner closest to the pool is about 103 feet. At the end where it meets where the deck ends, it's about 70 feet from the lake, from the limit of the bordering vegetated wetland fringe. On the short end, it's about 54 feet. On the wide end, it's about 75 feet.
Oh, okay. No, when you say the short end, which end are you referring to?
The end that's closest,
Closest to what?
the lake.
The little narrow strip?
This is the short end.
Yep.
This is the long end.
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Oh, okay. When is an appropriate time to talk about lighting and sound mitigation? Who's handling that?
That's not jurisdictional for this board.
No,
Who's handling that?
If any board has jurisdiction over it, it would not be this board.
Okay.
So
Okay. And is this deck obviously it's going to have a railing on it, correct?
Correct.
Is it going to have a roof?
No.
No roof, but a railing. Oh, okay. Will it be an open railing or like a wall kind of privacy thing?
Say that again.
I'm sorry. It's going to have like an open rail deck, railing as opposed to say a solid wall like you sometimes see on decks. So it would
Yeah,
be
there's no. It'll likely be a typical deck that would have vertical pieces at appropriate spacing. It wouldn't be a solid wall.
okay.
that doesn't have a lot of relevance to our concerns, Bronwyn.
Okay. All right. Just it's a good opportunity to
Rick,
ask.
look,
But
I presume you will be, Brian and Rick, will you be taking this to ZBA?
we don't, what we plan on doing, I know there's a lot of people concerned with, as Bronwyn is referencing, and I respect it. There's a lot of people concerned on the use of the deck, the hours, the lighting, all good issues. Our intent is before we build this deck, we're going to reach out to the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt. My client wants to do that. He's a good corporate citizen. He's owned this property for some time. We're going to ask to meet with them, go over details on what he would like to do, hear concerns. We think make adjustments based on concerns and make this something that works for everybody. He's not looking to implement his will on anybody. So that will be a process. After this meeting or after this process, we will be reaching out to the Friends of the Lake Board of Directors to try to set up a meeting with them to go over the details of what his thoughts are, hear concerns of obviously, the Friends of the Lake are very respected. And I've worked with them on other matters and look forward to working with them on this and hopefully come to a consensus on what works for everybody and doesn't have significant impacts. So that is our intent after this process. And I think a lot of people are on with concerns that Bronwyn is trying to get to, and I respect that, but it's difficult at this process because of the jurisdiction. But we do plan on doing that after the fact, before it's built.
Oh, thank you for that. Just one clarification. A person named Eugene Nigro was mentioned as the entity. Who is that?
Eugene Nigro is the ownership and is the owner of the entity that owns the property. The property is owned by an LLC, and Eugene is in control of the LLC.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bronwyn.
And Eugene owns the entire, that this office, the park is owned by a few different entities, and Gene controls them all.
So there are multiple LLCs that own different buildings in the park?
Correct.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay. And Gene owns controls the LLCs.
Yeah. So I just don't want it to be like, oh, we're here, we're going to build this, we're not going to answer any questions. That's not the intent. We're going to set up some meetings, and we're going to vet this, and Gene wants to be a good lake citizen and doesn't want block parties out there late at night and so that's not the goal. We're gonna be very transparent with the relevant parties before this even goes forward. So I hope that helps a lot of people and answers some questions.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
And I know it's not relevant for your commission, but I think that might be helpful for folks to hear that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else, Bronwyn, or are you set for the moment?
I'm all set for the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think Bob Mitchell had his hand up next.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I sent a
Bob,
letter
are
to
you're a
Concom
resident of
couple days
Wakefield?
ago.
Can you just give us your address?
Yeah.
please?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, it's Robert Mitchell, 6 Spalding Street, Wakefield, Mass. Yeah.
Thank you.
6 Spalding, AU, with an AU. There's an A in
Mhm.
Wakefield. I was getting their mail. Yeah, I sent a letter into the Concom a couple days ago. Brian, did you get a copy of it by any chance? Or
I did not, Bob.
no?
If you want to email them to me, I'm happy to.
You
look
did
at
not.
it.
Okay, okay. I sent it. Yep. I CC'd just for argument's sake, I CC'd Tom Mullen, Town Council, FOLQ, and also the Saugus River Watershed, although the Saugus River Watershed email failed, so they did not get CC'd on it. So I'd like to read it in. It's pretty quick, and then I just got like 2 questions, and then I'll be done. So it won't take long. I just feel like I should read it in the public record, as other people haven't or attending tonight haven't seen it.
Probably would be helpful.
So recently I viewed this. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Recently,
Bob, you're breaking up. You're going to
this
have to.
proposed site, and I'm including a couple of quick photos. I just had a couple of photos that aren't really so pertinent tonight. I found 2 areas of loose gravel in lawn chairs and tables. Each area, hang on a second. One control. Is this a little better? Uh-oh.
Maybe if you continue reading, we'll find out.
Is this good now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so I viewed the proposed site. I found 2 areas of loose gravel, lawn chairs, and tables, about 15 by 30 foot each of these gravel areas. Much to my surprise, I also saw an additional path from the Lakeside Hotel to an existing deck. I guess it's called a pergola. That was surprised me. And Brian, by all means, you can correct me on this information when I'm done. It'll be pretty brief. So this deck is perhaps 12 feet by 12 feet. I see it as only about 15, 20 feet from the water, I think. So it's quite close to the water in the bordering vegetated wetland. Due to its proximity to the lake, this existing deck is an affront to those who enjoy Lake Quannapowitt. Specifically, I believe I call this the pergola, the current deck, and proposed deck will have an adverse impact due to lighting, noise, impact to wildlife, including the American eagles often seen on the lake, flood storage, general impact to people recreating on the lake. Oh, sorry, the vacuum cleaner right next to me. Therefore, I formally requested a copy of any order of conditions and any materials leading to the review and approval of the pergola. Couple more sentences. Guided by the Wetlands Protection Act, I am very concerned about the impact of both the current deck, the pergola, and this 100-foot proposed deck. I feel strongly that both structures are not in the interest of those who recreate and love Lake Quannapowitt. Therefore, because this is within the 100-foot buffer and will set a terrible precedent in perpetuity for other properties on the lake, I request the board members vote no on this 100-foot deck. Thank you. So my question to Brian is that pergola, I asked Ethan. Ethan, I think, took a look at it. Wasn't able to complete the research. He can maybe speak to it. But I'd just like to find out, was that pergola permitted? What is that thing? Because it's much closer to the lake than this proposed deck. So really, I'll be honest, it really set me off because I was like, wow, it's like right there. And I wasn't familiar with it at all. So Brian or the board, if you could address the prior permitting that justifies that pergola being there. That's really my main question. Thank you.
We asked Ethan previously, and I don't know, Ethan, have you found anything to indicate when that pergola was erected and or permitted?
From what I saw, it looks like it was built around 2021 or 2022. I didn't see any permits that we have for that.
It's that recent. Interesting.
From what I saw, I believe so.
Based on what did you find? You found.
I was just looking at the aerial imagery as well as the street view, see when it was built.
So the aerials show that there was nothing there until 2021 or so.
Yep.
I see. Okay. Thanks.
Brian, do you have any recollection if that was permitted or not?
I wasn't involved in that, Bob, when that went in. So, I don't know. I don't know if it would require any permitting. I don't know. I question whether it would. I don't think it has any footings. I think it's just laid. So there was no dredging or disturbance involved. So, I think perhaps it doesn't require any permitting.
Right.
But that's a perhaps, Bob. That might be the basis of it there. I'd have to look into it further, which I'm happy to do.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, and I respect that it's going to take a little time to research that, either by the board or the applicant. I respect that. But to me, that was really in the front to me, the location of that. I mean, it looks like something you'd use for a wedding or something like that, cute. But to me, knowing what I know now, which may not be all the information that we're going to find out in future research, that should not be there. That's an affront to me. And my big concern is it's sort of like the canary in the coal mine. If this thing, we don't know yet, but I'll just say, worst case, if this thing wasn't permitted, and that would be reason enough for the board right here to take a pause on any other type of, landscaping type structures, decks, until that issue is totally resolved to satisfaction of the public and Friends of Lake Quannapowitt and so forth. I mean, personally, if they need something up there for a wedding or something, fine, put a table up there for the day, put a little thing up there for the day, no problem. But that thing, if it's been permanently there for 3 years, and it hasn't been permitted properly, I won't make the accusation, but I'm saying that's where the information sounds at the moment. That's a showstopper for anything else right now. So enough said there. I think no vote should be either no vote or no vote should be taken until that issue is resolved, because that encroaches on the lake more so than the deck. And just one question on the deck, really. How far the building has that a bump out in the middle of it, right? It's kind of like a bump out, maybe 20 by 20, and the brick bump out. So I noticed the deck goes in front of that, right? There's like a little deck and a staircase that's in front of the bump out. So to me, that's the area, from a bird's eye view that encroaches the most on the lake. Do you know how far back that final piece of wood would be, that bottom step would be from the water?
Let me see here.
Yeah.
1 second. The bottom step, which
Yeah.
set of stairs are you talking about?
Yeah, the steps in the brick bump out, it's maybe a part of the building.
The ones to the furthest to the right.
Yeah.
To the water, it is about 65 feet.
And how far from the BVD? From the bordering?
The BVW?
Yeah, BVW,
It's about 51 feet.
Yeah, to me, I'm all about dimensions, and that sets a really bad precedent to be doing stuff 50 feet back from the bordering. I think that's just too close, period, is my thought on it. So I'll just sum up. I think either a no vote should be taken tonight on the 100-foot proposed deck, the proposal tonight, or at least that any vote on that should be suspended until we get clear on that pergola and all parties are involved. They're like, okay, that's what's up with that thing. I think that sums up what I need to speak about.
I think, Mr. Chairman, just in response to that last comment, I mean, the Wetlands
Right.
Protection Act doesn't have any setback requirements to wetlands. I think Wakefield is a policy absent the bylaws that are soon to be contemplated. I think you typically have had maybe a 25-foot no disturb zone. I've never heard of a 50-foot. I think I just think that last statement's completely unfounded.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with the technicality of what you're saying, but you got to remember, we're talking possibly a high volume of people using this deck. If you're going to have a 30 by 100-foot deck, you're going to have, a lot of people in there, and they're going to be migrating in and out of that thing. So you're talking a lot of foot traffic to me. So, I don't want to belabor that point, but I'm good with that unless there's any dialogue folks want back with me. I'm good with letting this meeting move forward.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you for the time. Appreciate it very much.
Okay. If you could put your hand down then.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay.
I'm trying. Thanks.
Julie Smith. Lost you.
Can you hear me now? Julie Scott?
Julie Scott, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's Julie S.
SCOTT, yes, thank you. Main Street,
Okay.
Wakefield. Brian, thank you so much for being so amenable to having the Conservation Commission reopen this hearing. I appreciate it very much. In response to something that the previous speaker said, I ran the calculations, and you could fit either 200 to 600 people, depending on seating arrangements, tables, chairs, and such. So just wanted to run that by you. I know that the Conservation Commission cannot address all of the issues that I'm going to raise. I'm going to talk for about 2 minutes and then I'll be quiet. But however, these issues, noise, lighting, property use, and the need for broader and more detailed town planning, which Brian mentioned, and he'd be reaching out to any town boards that are necessary or Friends of the Lake. Since no part of this application has come before other town boards or committees, it's important that residents are able to voice their concerns now to ensure that they're considered in future planning decisions. I'm concerned that if there wasn't another public meeting, because I'm not on the board of FOLQ, I'm just going to throw my stuff out there right now. Property value and future use of the Lakeside Inn. While the Lakeside Inn has not stated any plans to sell the property, it's clear that approvals for a large lakeside deck could increase the property's value and attractiveness to future buyers. Importantly, we do not know what the future holds. If in the future the hotel is sold or repurposed for a completely different type of retail or residential or office use, grandfathered approvals for outdoor entertainment could remain in place, affecting the character of the lakefront. Residents should ensure that any expansion protects environmental, acoustic, and visual quality regardless of current or future ownership. I expect that the Lakeside Inn ownership and its representatives will not make changes that disturb the broader lakeside community now or in the future, but the community must plan for the unknown. I'm town common and post-pandemic quiet was a focus after the pandemic. Because since the COVID-19 pandemic, residents and visitors have increasingly valued the town common and the Lake Quannapowitt area in its entirety as peaceful spaces. In response to the pandemic and under Town Administrator Mayo, the Wakefield Town Council revised rules in 2021 to limit large lakeside organized events while grandfathering established celebrations like the Festival by the Lake, the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt events, the 4th of July activities. Large events now require advance application, insurance, and departmental review. The music for the 4th of July ends at 9 p.m. for a reason. The movies for the kids, they start at dusk, and probably the latest the movies for the kids end maybe by 10. There's a reason for that, and I would expect that the Lakeside Inn would take these issues into consideration in their planning in the future. The rules exist to protect everyone's comfort, but enforcement has to be consistent. Wakefield's noise, sign, and zoning bylaws help, though some need updating and much stronger enforcement. Ongoing attention and community awareness are essential to maintain balance between active community use and the residents' and visitors' quality of life. If any of these meetings in the future, if they're not a planning board or a ZBA meeting, if they could be opened to the public, that would benefit a lot of people. Precedent for future developments. The Lakeside Inn's current request could set a precedent for the restaurant planned at the Cabot and Forbes development with over 450 apartments in addition to the restaurant. Sound and light from outdoor lakeside dining and entertainment will travel across the lake, amplifying their impact that I experienced when I lived in the 200 area of Main Street by the lake when the hotel did this a number of years ago. Lakeside sound echoes and can affect people on the other side of the lake. Residents and town boards should carefully consider how this project may influence future developments. And in the future, if the inn is sold or repurposed for a different type of use, grandfathered approvals could carry forward, potentially affecting the lakefront for decades in ways we can't currently foresee. Residents are asking for careful consideration of noise, lighting, aesthetics, and long-term impacts, as well as consistent enforcement of bylaws. While the Conservation Commission cannot address every concern, these issues exist and they're very important to the broader community, especially for future planning and protection of the lake and its surrounding open spaces that include hundreds of homes and hundreds of living spaces, including the new apartments. Thank you so much. And Brian, again, I really appreciate your flexibility in this. Thank you.
Rick, Brian, do you have anything to say in response to Julie's concerns about, I'm particularly thinking of noise and light impacts and how you're expecting to address them?
Yeah, as I said, no, the only thing I'll say is we're going to reach out to the Friends of the Lake and have discussions on all of these issues.
Is there, does the town have a noise limit from that applies to activities around the lake?
No,
Okay.
not that I know of. We have a noise bylaw, but it's more for construction hours, etc.
Excuse me, if I may, that's why in 2021, that's another part of the reason why the guidelines for the town common and lakeside use were revised, because the community had reached out to the town council. I was one of them, living right by the common at the time, to say, the noise had really built up. It was great because the common, the noise wasn't late into the evening like this might be, but it was the weekend over and over usage of the common and the sound, and sometimes there were bands and different events and lack of parking. That's not going to be an issue with the hotel, but sound was. So just wanted to put that out on the radar for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of our jurisdiction extends to the sound question.
Well, honestly, as an aside, about 10 years ago, I was walking the lake. I heard somebody screaming, help, help. I ignored it for a few minutes, kept hearing it and hearing it. I saved somebody's life because I called 911. It was somebody over in that area whose boat had tipped over. Sound does travel. Sometimes it's a good thing.
I have two more hands up. Cindy Schatz.
Okay, Cindy Schatz, 8 Quarter Street. So I'm pretty much right on Main Street because I'm only 2 houses in. And as Julie mentioned, sound travels tremendously across the lake. Not only sound, but it's because of the wind. My street is perpendicular to the lake. And so when the winds are strong and coming off the highway, right down my street they go. And we feel it. We have a very, very windy front porch. We get the noise that comes up from the bottom of the lake when there are concerts down there. We don't hear them from the library because the buildings in the downtown area envelop that noise. But the noise that's on the common, the concerts that are on the common, which granted are very few, we can hear those from our house quite readily. So I know that we will hear bands, celebrations, parties that would be held across the water on a deck. And I don't believe that this deck is being planned without any idea of what it's going to be used for, because you don't say, let's build a deck. Oh, now what should we use it for? That's nonsense. I'm sorry. So there is definitely a goal in mind on how to use this, how it wants to be reserved for parties, bands, whatever. There's definitely a plan. Someone has a plan. We already get light pollution from the building in Reading from Jordan's Furniture. And I know that, friends of like Quanah Power and others have tried to reach out in the past to them. And for a while that was brought down. We would get the same thing from any parties, depending on how it is lit, how that deck is lit. That would also go onto the lake. And that would be, I'm not talking about keeping people awake, but it prevents you from enjoying the night sky when you have that kind of light pollution. So I am concerned about the lighting, which again, I believe that's already, if it's not shown on these plans, there's someone who's already put some time and effort into thinking and designing it. So I would love to see that. Lastly, I'm wondering why there are steps leading from the deck towards the buffered area as opposed to just going off to the sides and back toward the hotel, because you're inviting people then to go into the floodplain area, which we know is wet when we've had a lot of rain. Someone can answer the question about why the steps are leading people to the lake.
Rick or Brian, do you
Well,
want to?
I can just say, I mean, that's their yard area. As Rick said, it's not right on the lake. It's significantly far from the lake and the edge of the wetland. So, you can't tell people they can't walk in their yards or have people walk in their yards.
50 feet is not a significant amount, but most people are.
It's pretty significant.
Well,
Talking wetlands.
They're into the
setbacks.
floodplain almost right away, because I'm looking at the map and I did see all of these documents before the meeting.
I mean, we're happy, we're happy to entertain conditions, Mr. Chair. We're certainly not going to entertain conditions that affect the use of our property that is legal.
I'm just mentioning because you're leading people towards the water, and Concom is concerned with, or should be concerned with, the buffer area. And so you're leading people to walk down there and walk around.
Yeah, and there's existing benches out here. I mean, there's already people back there utilizing those
we
sort of
lead
things.
people to walk around the lake.
Yeah.
That's what the paths around the lake are about. We have a loop around the lake that's heavily used.
The loop doesn't go all the way around the lake at this point. I mean, you're on sidewalks out on North Avenue for part of it.
That's true.
The town doesn't have a good loop all the way around the lake. There are private lands that keep you from walking right up against the lake.
The people that stay at the hotel utilize that rear yard, as Mr. Salvo just pointed out. There's benches back there. They're totally legal to be back there. There's no issues with that. The other thing I want to point out, I've mentioned what a great corporate citizen Mr. Nigro is. You know how many people walk through this property every day? that are technically trespassing, that walk back there, that fish back there. He never makes any issue over it. My office is in this office park. I have to wait for people with their dogs and baby carriages. I can't get clients have a hard time coming in. No issues. He has no issues with that. He's very inviting to the public on this property. He hosts the parade. The parade starts here. He's an incredible corporate citizen. You know, his desire is to work with everybody here. As I mentioned, we're going to have meetings and we're going to make this work.
I know Mr. Nygaard. I've had some very, very good interactions with him. I don't have any issues with him. I just have questions about this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Mhm.
Rob Weddick.
Yeah, hi. Just a second, I'll see if I can. Oh, yeah, I'm interested. I think a lot of people are interested about how close buildings can get to the lake, and if the Conservation Commission has any control over the encroachment of the lake, and is there a certain buffer zone? I mean, I'm seeing this 100-foot wetland buffer zone. I don't understand that. It sounds like obviously you can build on it, but is there a so many feet from a certain edge of the lake that can or cannot be built on, and who controls that?
We have policies, and they are that, policies, for limiting developments around wetlands and bodies of water. We insist on a minimum 25-foot setback and generally manage to achieve that. We're hoping to incorporate that into a townwide wetland bylaw. Beyond that, the state DEP has in the Wetland Protection Act, there is 100-foot suggested buffer to bodies of water, but there's no enforcement associated with the 100 feet buffer suggested to a lake or any other body of water, to my knowledge. It's up to conservation commissions to impose limits. Obviously, our interest is maintaining as protective an environment around the lake as we can. I think in this case, we're looking at balancing off the property owner's ability to use and maintain his property versus the public's interest in seeing that the conditions around the lake are not degraded. And that's the discussion we're trying to have tonight.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people in town want to have the most open space possible, and whatever can incorporate open space is a benefit to the town. Now, obviously, there's private property, so there's limits on that, but the more open space as possible is greatly appreciated.
Understood. I think what Brian has said is that this is private property that has essentially become de facto open space in a lot of ways. I don't hear anything to suggest that the owner would seek to change that situation were they to build the deck. I guess I'd ask Rick or Brian to speak to that question.
Could you rephrase that?
I'm just wondering, given that they're going to have a deck here, are they going to try to limit the public's use of the area along the lake edge where, as you indicate, people do walk?
Well, I don't think Mr. Nagel can, he doesn't invite the public on. I mean,
No, understood.
Liability reasons, et cetera, but, but people are on there all the time and he's never taken issue with it.
He does, okay, so
you
he's
know
not
that.
likely to change
it's-
that
it's,
policy.
I see people fishing there with their kids, people walking behind the hotel, sitting on those benches. He's never had any issue with that. People cut through the parking lot every day, running, walking the lake. The runners clubs organized there. He understands the value of the lake. The lake, the value of his property is tied to the lake.
Sure.
So he has a vested interest in preserving that. And, one of the things that Gene and I talked about was that I did want to make an introduction with him to the Friends of the Lake because I think he can be a real good asset with the Friends, and there's things beyond this that they can talk about and do in conjunction with each other. And Gene's excited about that. So I'm going to be reaching out to the Friends, and we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about other things as well.
Thanks, Brian. Bronwyn, you had something additional.
Yes, it did. Thank you. I have to make a clarification for something that a previous speaker was talking about with the lighting. It's not simply a matter of a light spill ruining the night sky. I'm sure every member of this commission understands that light pollution is harmful to people, animals, and even plants. And I see nothing on the plans that's going to stop a light spill out over to the lake. So it's not only it's the people around the lake, on the other side of the lake, who are going to be impacted by that. I just want it to be absolutely clear that the light spill is more than just an aesthetic thing. It's a health concern for people, for animals, and plants. And I would think that with the plants and animals around the lake, that would be part of the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. So I just wanted to be real clear about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie.
Hi there. To tag on to the light spill issue, some people here might remember when we had the newly rebuilt Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department, the first month or so that opened with those long windows. And when they put the lights on and the light spill over the lake, it was shocking. And some of the designers were pretty disappointed in themselves for not thinking about that beforehand. And that's why when you drive by at night, it's much more subdued. So lighting does matter. People on the other side of the lake reached out, people in that neighborhood reached out, and there was a workable solution. When I read reviews about the hotel, and I go there a lot for different events, it's a very welcome place in the community, I think. The hotel management is going to need to address the guest satisfaction because when you read some of the reviews, sound is an issue. So reasonable hours, thoughtful lighting, and controlling volume will be some of the basic steps required to make everybody's experience, including those who live and walk around the lake, better. Thank you.
And I think we agree with you. We've had some initial circulation of ideas for conditions, and I think we're going to need to talk to the applicant about conditions associated with both lighting and sound to address the concerns we're hearing tonight. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the commission? Eleanor?
Do we think it's helpful to address some of the comments from the public?
I think if you want to speak to that, yes, go ahead.
I think there was something Cindy Schatt said about the access to the buffer and the proximity to the lake. And I think one of the things we want to see is as much of the buffer zone protected as possible, but under the Wetlands Protection Act, properties are grandfathered in, for existing lawn. So that's really anything after 1983. So in this case, the property's been there since 1965, and as Brian has alluded to, they have the rights to use their backyard. So I think for us, it's just finding the balance that they sort of stay within that existing lawn and don't encroach further into the existing vegetation that's in the current buffer zone. So I hope that clarifies that issue.
And I think the question of lighting, we've discussed requiring uh, any lighting fixtures installed to be directed at and built onto the deck or the building so that they are directed at the deck. Additionally, they would have to be dark sky compliant. And we'd want to discuss that with the applicant to confirm that that's going to be the case, because I think that would be part of any conditions we'd apply to a permit here or certificate. Brian, have you and your client given thought to those? That
Yes,
kind of
we discussed that at a prior hearing, I think, and we were fine with that.
You're good with that.
Yeah.
As far as noise, it's unfortunate the town doesn't have any kind of noise standards for us to rely on, because for us, stepping into noise is a challenge. I mean, I don't disagree with the comments that noise has an impact on wildlife, as well as an impact on the residents around the lake. I am not sure how we as a commission can get to the question of noise, or managing noise, because we don't have a noise bylaw in this town that we can point to and say, this is what you need to comply with.
I guess, go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead, Jennifer. If you've got some thoughts, I'd be interested.
Yeah, because we received some letters about the lighting and the noise, ahead of today's meeting, and so I, gave it some thought. There's not, I think, a specific noise bylaw, but there is, a ordinance against disorderly conduct, and not being a lawyer, but reading it, it looks like it might, apply to, noise that, disrupts or aggravates people, nearby residences on public property. So I would expect that, problematic noise would fall under that, disorderly conduct. I think, how long has this business been a hotel? For a
Brian,
long
did you say
time.
1965?
At least.
I mean, I think the fact that it is a hotel provides a lot of natural kind of constraints on noise, because it's a business that provides a place for people to sleep. So I think, although I would imagine they might consider using the deck for events. I mean, I think that would be sort of against their own interest to be running events late at night right outside their hotel rooms. I mean, that doesn't, I think, address the issue of noise during the day that might travel across the lake, but I think it provides, some constraint, I think, on expectations about noise. I do think the stairs on the deck are probably necessary for egress. And the fact that that area near the deck is a flood zone, I think, if anything, would sort of naturally discourage people from walking on that area. If the applicant did decide they wanted to grade it to make it more usable, they'd have to come back in front of the commission. And being a flood zone, might trigger stormwater standards. So I think that's another aspect of the project that, if anything, would, discourage people, from being in that area.
It is a wet lawn, oftentimes.
I wasn't able to see the pictures of the pergola. That just didn't come through when we received the email about that. Is that something that could be put up on the screen?
Let me go look and see if I have the email. Ah, okay. I did find them, Jennifer. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Wait a minute. Let's try that again. Okay. They're very small images. But let me see. Let's try this. Share. Okay. I don't know how much is visible there, how much you can see, Jennifer, but that is the pergola we're talking about. It's basically, it looks like a platform, 4 columns at the corners, and an open roof type structure. There's one other image attached to the email from a different angle. And that's basically what it looks like
Okay.
and where it sits in relationship to the lake shore.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, Rick, Brian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that is not anchored to the ground in any way, other than by
Correct.
its own weight.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is perfect evidence how Mr. Nagro has no issues, it doesn't take issue with, or hasn't taken issue, I should say, with the public on his property, because obviously somebody went on his property to take this picture.
Yeah.
So I mean, one possibility might be just to ask the applicant in as perhaps a special condition, just to clarify with the Concom the status of the pergola, is it exempt? Does it require its own notice of intent,
We don't think it would, because again, there was no digging, no dredging. It's a platform. It's like it's a piece of furniture. And it's not in the resource area.
It is in the resource buffer.
Well, it's in the buffer. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It's movable.
Looks that way.
Yeah.
From what you're saying, if it has no foundations, does the inn move it when the lake floods, or do you leave it in place?
Just stays there.
It hasn't floated.
No, it's heavy enough. I don't think it's ever come up that high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
But I respectfully don't think this should be part of the order for the deck. I think that just confuses things.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I think we've seen what Jennifer was looking for. Any other questions, comments?
Of course, I wasn't able to do an exhaustive search of every, bylaw, but I did look in a database of bylaws, local bylaws, and I only found one bylaw that lists noise specifically as an interest, and it wasn't elaborated on. So I didn't find a lot of guidance out there.
This is not
For,
necessarily a Wakefield bylaw, though, is what you're saying, or this is?
well, no, right. It's a bylaw in, I think, Halifax, Massachusetts. Yeah, but I didn't see a lot of guidance out there for standards that people have put forward.
Related to noise.
Noise next to the wetland. I mean, it certainly does affect a wetland, and I think particularly birds, but
And I think the bigger concern is it affects the residents around the lake too. I mean, that's not a trivial concern. Rob, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I know for certain that Cambridge has a very strict noise ordinance that's very important to their residences. And when I was involved in the HVAC air conditioning business, we were able to spend a little money and make things quieter. So that had to do with mechanical equipment, but I would assume they have other strict ordinances about just outdoor bans and that we expect will come from a deck.
Yeah. Right. And just to clarify, when I said guidance, I meant guidance specifically for wetlands protection.
Okay.
And even Wakefield has some noise guidance, but it's about construction activity.
Yeah. Cambridge noise is specific to noise emanating from equipment and machinery.
I think that's more often than not the case. It's difficult to regulate noise coming from a group of people.
It's almost impossible to regulate noise from a group of people. You can't enforce it. Who's going to enforce that?
That's the
You
challenge.
can limit hours on, construction. The noise bylaw in Wakefield limits construction for certain hours. So if somebody's violating it, nobody's going to go out there with a meter to check noise.
Mm-hmm.
But
And that can't be done because you need an ambient level to check. There's so many factors here.
But there are noise meters that are on the property line in Cambridge, and they measure the noise. And there's a certain ordinance that's a daytime noise and a nighttime noise. So it's an actual dB level. So you could set your dB. You could set the speakers on the stereo to a dB level, decibel. And it's a pretty common meter that's used. But hopefully the time will be established and the volume can be regulated to be within reason.
I think at this point, do we have further matters that we need to take public input on, or should we close the hearing? I'm inclined to think we can close the hearing and discuss how we get to conditions on the deck, both in terms of its physical and its physical properties and its use that address some of the concerns we've heard tonight.
Mr. Chair, just before you close it, just to make a statement, as I mentioned, we have no issue with the dark sky compliant, the lighting being either on the deck or attached to the building, because I don't think you want, lamp posts out there.
Right.
We would not, I'm just being upfront, so we're all on the same page here that, we can't accept any noise condition. Our goal is to work with folks, as I've already said, and I think we'll be able to do that. But as far
Would you accept a condition that sets a use time, Brian?
No, not at this point, no. Not through the Conservation Commission. I'm being honest, I don't think that's jurisdictional for your commission.
I mean, quite honestly, if things got really rowdy, wouldn't a person be able to call the police to come break it up?
It's not gonna happen. I'm
That
telling you right
doesn't
now.
happen.
Mr. Nago's on the call here. I've already told you the meetings that we're gonna have. This is gonna be, we're gonna resolve this with people that, those issues are really outside the commission. We're here.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's outside of the commission. I'm saying in general, if neighbors had an issue with noise or whatever, couldn't they theoretically call the police or something, if it was excessively loud, like there's always that recourse. It's not ideal.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think.
And the reason I just tell you where we stand on that is I just don't want to have a condition that puts us in a position that we have to appeal it. And that would, and we don't want that. We want to keep this within your jurisdiction.
Yeah. Brian, last word before we close the hearing.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you do not have light posts on that deck and the lights are going to be on the building, they are going to be facing the lake. I would rather see light posts on the shoreline side of the deck facing the hotel. That way the light is facing away from the lake. So if you put all the lights on the building, they're going to have to be pointing out to the deck and towards the lake. So I want whoever's in charge of this design to think very, very carefully about where those lights should be. They should be pointing to the deck and towards the hotel, not towards the lake. So anything on the hotel is going to create tremendous light pollution. Just a thought to think about. Thank you.
No, but I think we would agree with you there, Bronwyn. And I noticed Mr. Nigro is on the call and was nodding in response to your thoughts on how the lights would be aimed. So, but I think you're correct. We want to see the light impacts to the lake and the bordering wetlands minimized, which means lights need to be down low at the deck and aimed away from the resource areas that we're concerned with. So I think that would be part of a conditions we develop. I think, Ethan, you circulated an initial draft of some condition language, if I recall correctly. Do we need to tune that up based on some of the discussions tonight?
The only thing not included in there would be the last one you said about the lights being aimed at the deck, or at least being located lower to the deck.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just to
I think
point
it did say lights would be aimed at the deck, though.
So we have a bylaw on lighting in our town so we're agreeing that dark sky compliant. We're agreeing that the lighting will be on the deck or on the building. Where it faces, there's in our zoning bylaw, there's a limit on foot candles that can go off of your property. So, I just don't want to be limiting here that, I'm going to have lights on a deck facing into the deck, blinding the people on the deck. Otherwise, let's put a bylaw on every house around the lake that they can't have a light facing the lake. We're not talking hundreds of lights here. We're talking, I just don't want to, I don't want to have a condition that is not practical or overbearing, if you will.
I don't think I've reviewed the town lighting bylaw. Unless my colleagues, if either of them have. It might be useful to take a look at that before we conclude on
Yep.
that.
I can probably show that to you if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me find it. Can I share my screen, Chair?
Certainly.
Right. This is in section 180 of our zoning bylaw, illumination, and it deals with signs, but it also deals with outdoor lighting. And it says, all permanent outdoor lights, such as those used for area lighting or building flood lighting, shall be steady, stationary, shielded sources directed so as to avoid causing glare for motorists, pedestrians, and neighboring premises. The marginal increase in light is measured at any property line other than a street line shall not exceed 1 foot candle.
So that same marginal increase would apply, would you agree, would apply at the lake?
Would apply at the lake.
At the lake front?
Correct.
Okay. That's a pretty small increment.
Correct.
So. And obviously your intention is to comply with this this component of the zoning bylaw.
We have to.
Yep.
Yep.
Understood.
But we are fine with dark sky compliant.
Okay.
And a condition that any light associated with the deck is either on the deck or on the building.
Okay, and where this says a marginal increase in light shall not exceed 1 foot candle, that means an increase when adding new lighting?
I'm going to defer to Rick. Rick, can you, as the engineer?
Yeah, can you read the actual requirement again?
It's right there, Rick. Can you see it on the screen?
Oh, yeah.
Hold
Number
on.
4,
Number 4, Rick.
the marginal increase in light is measured at any property line other than a street line shall not exceed 1 foot candle.
Yeah, so a foot candle is a measurement of light glare. So that means that you can't have more than 1 foot candle of glare at the property line. So that's like total glare, whether it's existing or proposed. Just for the record, a full moon probably creates 1 foot candle of light.
And the property line again is the lake shore.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's anyone's intention to light up the lake. If the lighting that's on the back of the building isn't a nuisance now, I think it's a fair assessment that that lighting is not going to be a nuisance in the future.
Shall we close the hearing?
Yeah, I mean, can I just say one last thing, Paul?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can speak after we close the hearing.
Oh, sure, whatever.
Go ahead, if you've got a specific.
No, I just was going to say, I think people feel passionately because it is a beautiful spot along the lake. That particular side of the lake has the most contiguous vegetation and trees, which brings in a lot of interesting birds, and you'll see people come to watch the swallows, the eagles, and things like that. So it's this, I think, incredible, vibrant, natural feature that is incredibly wonderful. And I think Brian, Mr. Nigro, I think finding that balance with the community. While this is way outside the Conservation Commission, I think people would welcome, a venue for weddings and things like that, where there's, events that kind of create joy and celebrate the natural beauty of the lake with, minimal disruption. And I guess that is the next step for you guys to figure out.
The chair, if I could just say thank you, Eleanor, for that comment. I think you summed up exactly what the goal is of Mr. Nigro. So thank you.
Thanks. We have a motion to close the hearing then.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
And a second.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to close the hearing on the Lakeside Inn deck. All in favor? Jennifer,
Yes.
Helena,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So the public hearing is now closed. We have a draft of a order of conditions that Ethan circulated. Do we want to spend any time marking that up tonight, or do we?
I think we have to.
All right, then probably I'm going to ask Ethan if he can put it up on the screen. Okay, can you make that a little larger, Ethan? It's challenging. That's better. So these are the special conditions associated with this project. I don't think there's anything above that's any different from any other of our conditions. 51 is no trees within 100 feet of the wetland or shoreline may be removed. And that's a perpetual condition. All construction vehicles shall remain within the limit of work as defined by the location of the compost. I would put a space there, silt sock, before silt. But shown on the plan submitted with the NOI, generally at least 50 feet from the shoreline. I think last time we discussed the notion that all activities would remain within the area between that silt sock, as it's been shown on the plans we've seen, and the building itself. So keeping any equipment. What I heard tonight was there aren't going to be any construction vehicles. So perhaps this condition may be unnecessary. If all of the deliveries and the movement of concrete are going to be manual, we may not need this condition at all.
Which one? Sorry.
52 applies to construction vehicles. We had discussed limiting their movement to behind the silt sock, but what we heard tonight from Brian and Rick was that there will be no construction vehicles on the lake side of the building. That all the deliveries will be broader material deliveries, including concrete, will be brought around by hand or wheelbarrow. And if that's the case, this condition may not be necessary at all.
I think I would include that or specify it because
Move changed from this to that. In other words, that all deliveries to the site for construction shall be moved to the lake side of the building by hand or by wheelbarrow, including all concrete moved to for foundations. Something along those lines.
sure.
Yep, I can update this based on what we talked about today.
Okay. Brian, that works for you?
Yes, it does. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, you can just say all construction vehicles should remain in the parking lot,
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. Construction vehicles remain in the parking lot and
Staging of materials shall occur, staging of materials and concrete shall take place in the parking lot as well, or something to that
okay.
effect.
Okay.
That's what we
Ethan, you
represented.
can draft around those.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're keeping the dark sky number 53.
That's my expectation.
Okay,
We
good.
just had issue with the language directed at the deck for consideration.
What your concern is you'd like what? To be able to direct them toward at the
Wherever we want, as long as it meets we have to meet the zoning bylaw, so, which is pretty easy to determine if we comply, go out with a meter and that's it. So,
I think our concern is if you end up with lights that are directed toward the lake, we're going to have unhappy wildlife potentially and unhappy lake residents.
so what do you mean by directed at the deck? Meaning facing down or? That's,
I think the intent of that was, we had talked about this at the initial hearing, that the light spill was intended to illuminate the deck. It wasn't intended to go beyond the deck.
Is that your expectation, Rick?
oh yeah, that's our expectation.
Yeah, I think that's what we've always talked about. We weren't really interested in lighting up the wetlands. That wasn't what
Or
the
the
intent
lawn?
was. Well, the lawn, yeah, I mean,
Okay. I guess, Brian, if you
How about if it's compliant and directed onto the deck?
Okay.
I can live
Just
with
at the
that.
deck is just, I think, onto the deck is probably more appropriate and probably more limiting, to be honest with you, for us.
and I think that's what the intention was too.
That's fine. I think we can make that change. The next one, 54, is essentially providing us and engineering an updated plan set showing the height and depth of foundations. I think we'd like to have that. I think, Ethan, I'd like to see that provided to both Conservation Commission and Engineering Division for
54.
54.
Yep.
The updated plan set should be provided to both.
Which would probably be the plan set that gets submitted for building permit. Agreed?
Right.
Okay.
I would expect, yeah. And then there are no construction vehicles, so we may be able to, I mean, what I heard tonight is that, and I think we want to add, in addition to the language around construction vehicles, the sonotubes are going to be installed using a powered auger, a hand-powered auger, which means an auger that's driven by a small gasoline engine, but held by hand by one or two workers. That's typical. I've actually done that myself. Been doing a foundation once. Frankly, I wouldn't want to do it again. But I think it would be useful to update this to reflect that agreement from the applicant. So that one, if Ethan, if you can modify this to.
Yep, just to be the equipment instead of the vehicles, right?
Yeah, there won't be any vehicles on the lake side of the building, essentially. All vehicles will all vehicles and staging will be in the parking lot of the building, and materials will be delivered to the lakeside manually or by wheelbarrow. So, and sonotubes will be installed by using a powered auger, a manual powered auger. I'm not sure quite what one calls those, but I'll look to the attorney to wordsmith it for us. Or Rick, maybe you have a good phrase for that.
Which one are we talking about?
The auger the type of auger you're going to be using to drive to excavate for the sonotubes. What do you call them?
I think it'd be a handheld auger, as you
A
said.
handheld auger. That's right.
As opposed to a machine mounted auger.
Handheld
Okay, so
power
the handheld
auger.
power auger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Ethan, you've got that?
Yep.
Power auger or post hole digger is what it's called.
All right.
Some call
Handheld
it that.
power auger or post hole digger. Perfect. The next condition. This is one the engineering department has suggested to us. Any concerns?
Rick?
No concerns here.
Okay. Is this it?
Just a quick question, Rick, what do you use to dig the compensatory storage?
It would probably be there'd probably be a small machine that they would use to do that, like a little mini mini excavator, track machine. Nothing big.
Okay.
So that would be the one construction vehicle, one or two, both.
There's an outside shot that it's small enough that they might even just do it with laborers by hand.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to restrict them
I
to
think
that,
you
though.
said you're doing about 85 cubic yards of compensatory storage all told. From
Cubic
that
feet,
hillside.
cubic
Feet.
feet.
Cubic feet? Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry. Yes. It's 1.7 cubic feet versus 85. Okay.
Yeah.
Rick, will we need machinery for that?
I'd like to just keep the ability to be able to use, and that's over by the pool. That's
Mhm.
even further from the resource area.
Mhm.
I just wouldn't want to restrict them, to have to do that by hand. It's possible that could be done by hand. It's such a minor activity, but it might be much, much quicker if they can do it with a machine.
Like a tiny mini excavator or something?
Correct. It wouldn't be
Right.
anything big at all.
Okay. Maybe updating 54, Ethan, to include provide a description of construction vehicles and any excavators.
Yeah, because that should be within the limit of work anyways.
Right. Okay. Any further suggestions? Jennifer, Eleanor? Okay.
On that part, no. Sorry.
Okay. So I think obviously Ethan hasn't updated all of this in real time, but I think we can trust to get it if we want to look at it. We've agreed on the specifics. I think we've gotten down to some fairly specific concepts here. So are we at a point where we can authorize an order?
I think so. I just wanted to make sure Ethan saw the edits that I had to the summary that just describes the project. I just shortened it and made reference to the plan.
Yes, I think that's in this version here.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Can we have a motion then to approve this order of conditions, the findings in the order?
I'll make a motion to approve the order of conditions.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, can you second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Eleanor,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and I vote yes. I think we're concluded on this tonight. I think we've got the conditions. Will Ethan, if you could circulate that to the three of us once you've written them up, what we've discussed tonight, so we can just make sure we confirm the language meets our expectations.
Yep.
Thank you. I think we're set with this for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great.
Members of the Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
You're welcome. I think that is all we have on that. We have a complaint on our procedure at our December 16th meeting. And we need to, town council has drafted a letter, is in the process of drafting a letter, which they've circulated to me, and I sent it individually to each member. We're not voting on the response tonight. Town council will draft and respond to the meeting law complaint if we authorize him to do that. So I guess I'll open the question up. You're both comfortable with that approach?
The question is, are we going to vote tonight to accept the letter that was drafted by town council?
I think we're going to vote tonight to authorize him to draft a letter based on what he circulated to us today. But it may be further refined. I mean, if there are specific things you'd like to see incorporated in it, I think we can either incorporate those tonight, or we can condition any approval on him taking into account any comments we make within the next X days.
Wouldn't we just authorize him to respond on our behalf?
That's essentially what he's doing, yes.
Okay.
Directing a response. I mean, the complaint was directed to us, and it was a complaint about violation of the open meeting clause. And he's better suited to be able to respond to that than any of us are, I think, because he works with it.
Mm.
So it would be a response to the complaint specifically around the open meetings law, and it would be a response on behalf of the Conservation Commission. The commission collectively, not us individually.
Mm-hmm. I would make a motion to refer the matter to town council and respond on our behalf.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Thanks. All in favor? Eleanor,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and I vote yes to authorize town council to respond on behalf of the commission to the letter regarding the open meetings law. Okay. Now, that takes that one. The last is wetland bylaw discussion. We have a meeting tomorrow. Do we want to pick up where we left off now, or wait till tomorrow and pick it up at 7? It is now 8:42. And I'm looking at somewhat tired looking faces.
I think we're in a good place with the draft bylaw. I think the next step is looking at Ethan's draft regulations
I
and
think,
seeing,
yeah,
making sure that lines up. And since you're going away, we really have to make sure tomorrow
yeah.
that we get it to a good place.
Okay, then I would suggest we take some time tomorrow in each individually to look at Ethan's drafting of the regulations and be prepared tomorrow night to respond and confirm that we like what he's drafted, or that we want to add or subtract.
I think that
point. I agree. Given that I'm going to be gone for a month and our next meeting won't be until the 17th of February.
Yep.
We need to move it along.
And along those lines, I know we just closed a public hearing, but I think since people are still on the call, it would be, I think, really helpful for people to understand kind of the time constraints that the commission is under. I don't know if we can update the website to just sort of explain the process, so when people tune in, they can see that and understand, we have 21 days to respond and issue an order of conditions for a given project unless we get the consent of the applicant, and that really we can't deny a project. We can just condition it, because the alternative is that we lose control and it goes to DEP, and we've seen how that turns out. But I think that would help people sort of understand, the process a little bit better if we could make the website a little more user-friendly to refer to both like the key parts of the Wetlands Protection Act and then how the hearing works.
Okay, well, that's separate from the bylaw.
That's totally separate, but I figured I would just put it out there since we had a public hearing. Sorry. So yes, back to the wetlands bylaw, I would say let's regroup tomorrow and give people time to, if they didn't already, look through the regulations.
Okay, I'm inclined to agree. And I think, Ethan, if you can take a look at the website, bearing in mind Eleanor's comments about making it clear just how this process works.
Yep, I'll
What,
take a look.
yeah, what the WPA requires of us and what kind of authority we have.
Yep.
I think the 21-day constraint is certainly a very real one. Essentially, it takes it away from us if we do not respond within 21 days, unless, as with the applicant we dealt with tonight, they're willing to extend the time. But if they choose not to, we either have to deny, in which case it'll probably go up to the state, or we have to approve with conditions. And I think it'd be helpful to have some information about that on the website. That's essentially what you're looking for, Eleanor.
Yeah, I think it would help. And, when we open up, to also be able to point people to, here's a quick summary of the Wetlands Protection Act, and here's the 8 interests we're, looking at. I think we can look, other commissions have like a 1-page summary type thing that kind of lays it out.
Okay, well, I would suggest let's focus first on our own wetland bylaw.
Yes, yes.
Then we can worry about our website.
Yeah.
I did want to suggest maybe having a quick discussion about kind of what to do with future cases like came up with 595 North Ave, where the applicant feels the stormwater management requirements don't apply, but the check boxes are also not really appropriate, which was the case with this
Right.
project.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking through this, I thought that, when that's the case, the applicant, we could either, or Ethan could, ask the applicant to, just provide like a statement as to why they don't think the standards apply, a statement that could be forwarded to Bill Renault. Or just kind of forward the project to Bill. I think if it comes to us and we feel unsure, I
Right.
think that delays our review of projects, which I think applicants also don't want. So it's really, it streamlines things if that can be, dealt with before the meeting.
Is that something that we could include in the NOI documents, Ethan?
Not in the documents. I did talk to Bill though, and he said he was happy to review all of our NOIs moving forward just to confirm that they don't need stormwater. So that could be a way to address that issue. I'll just send it to him and he could say no comment or submit comments like he usually does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the 595, his comment was that the flood protection or the issues were diverse, and therefore there wasn't a reason to do the stormwater calculations. So, yeah, I agree with you, Jennifer. It would be helpful to have some kind of a statement. It doesn't sound like there's a place to put it in the application package, the way things are structured. However, once we pass a bylaw, can we structure an application form under the terms of the bylaw?
I would think you could ask the applicant in sort of screening the notice of intent for completeness and accuracy. You could push back on that and say, it's not really exempt. Can you just write why the stormwater standards don't apply? And I think I think I've seen checklists out there that other commissions use when they're reviewing NOIs, where the agent can screen and sort of, flag certain things.
If you have,
Which might be,
yeah, if you've run into one in particular, could you circulate it?
yeah, I'll have to look that up. But But yeah.
And Ethan, what percent of the time do you get a application that has missing items or incorrect information that you have to go back to the applicant and ask them to correct or complete? Because it does seem like the applicants make a lot of errors on the forms. And I'm thinking, since we have a lot of applicants who use, we have a lot of people coming before the commission repeatedly, I'm talking about the engineering companies. I mean, I think if they have to fix their mistakes, they'll probably make fewer of them in the future,
Yeah, besides like small typos, I don't think I've encountered one in the last year that had any mistakes that prevented it from moving forward.
I
So
mean,
they
I've
usually
seen
come in
things.
as complete packages.
Yeah, I mean, what I see or think, I mean, kind of this stormwater one was one, and I realized the form doesn't really allow kind of for the current situation, but still the way it was completed was not really accurate. But I've seen cases where um, resources were listed in the narrative, but then they didn't appear on the checkbox, which I mean, I do kind of rely on the checkboxes, I mean, to kind of refresh, I mean, I just think that that should be consistent. If they're listing resources in the narrative, they should also be accurately listed in on the NOI form. I
Yeah,
mean,
that does
I'll
happen
try to,
sometimes.
yeah. I mean, I'll try
Yeah,
to,
certain.
forward that or
Right.
point it out, but sometimes I usually
Mhm.
don't have a chance to review. Well, the materials come out late in the week before, and I look at them over the weekend usually, so I don't always catch it very far in advance.
Yeah, there's only certain things that would prevent a filing from going to our hearing. Some things can be addressed before, but most of them will come up at the hearing. So it's not always enough of an issue to stop it from moving forward.
So it would be something that we would have the applicant correct at the hearing.
Yeah,
Or-
something to ask them or something to
Mhm.
clarify. Yeah.
Well, obviously, that's
But-
the first purpose of the hearing.
Yeah.
But I guess when they do that, they don't typically revise the NOI. Do they just include like a narrative outside and that gets forwarded along with the plans?
It's usually corrected when you issue the order. So the NOI is more of just an application. And then anything that changes from the NOI to the order, whatever's in the order is what's approved itself.
Right. So, for example, tonight's approval, we made some very specific conditions, which we'll see when Ethan circulates them, and those were not part of the NOI.
Right. Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around when applicants revise their NOIs versus, just deal with it through the order of conditions. Like the Voc, I think they had several
Well,
versions of NOIs, and
yeah,
I haven't seen
both
that
went through
since.
iterations of the NOI because of the amount of concern around their impacts, and also because they were making substantial changes to the project in response to concerns and questions too.
Okay.
I think it depends on how much the project changes in the course of the hearing process, whether the NOI is going to get updated or not.
If the NOI gets updated, is that the applicant doing that, or is that a change Ethan would make to the received document?
That would be the applicant. But there's
The
like
NOI is the
no,
applicant's document, correct?
yes.
The
Yeah,
conditions, the order is our document.
Mhm. Yeah, there are certain requirements for like a minimum submittal, but those are usually pretty low threshold compared to what we need to approve the order. So there's a lot of times it's just to get to the hearing, and then the hearing itself is where you patch up any holes.
Yeah, I mean, when I've brought it up before, I think the applicant already being in the hearing wasn't really that didn't seem that motivated to correct the issues on their NOI. And, I thought maybe they'd be more receptive before it gets to the hearing stage.
No, they don't revise the NOI too often.
I mean, it's interesting because that's something the circuit rider says is to get sort of the plans up front before you issue the order of conditions.
Right.
And I find a lot of times we're issuing an order of conditions and saying, okay, send us your updated plan after the fact, which doesn't sound like his best practice.
On the other hand, if we're imposing some specific conditions, that requires they have to know what those conditions are before they can update their plans.
Yeah.
For example, tonight's discussion around lighting would have been one like that, where the lighting directionality and positioning were things that we discussed and did condition.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no perfect world on this stuff.
No. I think the takeaway is just maybe try and take our time. You know what I mean? Like,
Agreed.
And don't feel rushed.
Right. But we do have that
The 21 day.
21-day constraint sitting there. Okay.
Yep.
Do we have anything else for tonight?
I don't think so. We had no other requests.
No, that was the agenda.
Okay. So
I would suggest we adjourn for tonight and regroup tomorrow night to specifically address wetland bylaw.
Okay.
And only wetland bylaw at this point.
Sounds good.
So a motion to adjourn might be in order.
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn and also to thank everybody who tuned in and shared their thoughts. Your input's invaluable. And that's it.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Jennifer, can you second that?
Mm-hmm. Second.
All right, and all in favor? Eleanor?
Yes.
Jennifer? And I vote yes to adjourn. And I'll see you all tomorrow night at 7.
See you.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.